Yeah, hi there. These comments are for SK, and I am Michael Buckoff, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass a TOEFL IBT. So, these comments are for SK, so you are completing my pronunciation post-test. This is a diagnostic post-test for vowels, consonants, syllable division, grammatical word endings, word stress, sentence rhythm, intonation, and thought groups and blending. That is it. So the purpose here is to see if you have mastered all of the pronunciation areas of my course. So that's what I will do. I'll also give you an intelligibility score so you can kind of see whether or not you have reached your intelligibility goal that you've probably set forth and what I've set forth for you. Okay, so let's get started. So the first step is you're reading 3 paragraphs, right? So let's take a look at part A, and then we'll do part B as you answer those questions. Okay, here we go.
Reading passage 1. When two people are talking to each other, they tend to stand a specific distance apart. Each person has an invisible boundary around his or her body into which other people may not come. If someone pierces this boundary, she or he will feel uncomfortable and move away to increase the distance between them. The major exception is family members and other loved ones. This personal distance is not due to body odor or bad breath, but because closeness lends a sense of intimacy that is at odds with the relationship to the other individual.
Okay, so I think the P, I'm going to say, the P and the B consonant sounds, you still need practice with those. Also with blending. Let me just look at one of the sentences. So this personal distance is not due to body odor or bad breath, but because closeness, here's the key, lends a sense of intimacy that is at odds with the relationship to the other individual. So where you want to improve is you need to work on blending your words within your thought groups. That's important based on what I just listened to.
Reading passage 2.
Okay.
Interestingly, the average personal distance varies from culture to culture.
And that V sound varies. You need to pronounce that with more vibration. That's a fricative consonant, so varies.
Americans tend to require more personal space than in other
More personal. Need to pronounce that P with more personal space.
cultures. Therefore, if you try to get too close to an American during your conversation, he or she will feel that you are in his face and will try to back away.
Okay.
Try to be aware of this. So, if the person to whom you are speaking backs away a little, don't try to close the gap.
Notice the word don't, not try, but don't try. So be careful of the R. The R consonant in a consonant cluster, you pronounce it a little bit, how do I say, too strongly. So it's don't try to close a gap, not don't try to close a gap.
Reading passage 3. Also, try to avoid physical contact while
Notice the word again, not try, but try. Try to avoid physical contact.
speaking, since this may also lead to discomfort.
Notice how you don't want to pause after a sentence. You want to say, try to avoid physical contact while you're speaking, since this may also lead to discomfort. So sometimes with your pacing, it's not exactly native speaker like. Sometimes you pause a little bit too much.
Touching is a bit too intimate for casual acquaintances.
Notice the word casual acquaintances.
So, don't put your arm around his or her shoulder.
Okay.
Don't touch his or her face or hold his or her hand. Shaking hands when you initially meet or part is acceptable.
Notice the word part. When you initially meet or part is acceptable.
But this is only momentary.
Okay. Good, so we have that. The next thing is, let's listen to your response to the 3 questions. So we'll go one by one. So part B, here's question number 1. Okay, here we go.
My best friend is Sandhya. She is important to me because she has supported and encouraged me in a critical situation. For instance, when I was failed in TOEFL for twice, I was very disappointed and lost my hope.
No, wait a minute. Gotta go back. You're having some issues here. Let me go back to the beginning. So you're answering, who is your best friend? Why is this person important to you, right?
My best friend is Sandhya. She is important.
No, who is important to me? I would say my best friend is Sandhya. Who is important to me? So use an adjective clause there. You're showing you have a little bit more advanced grammar. That's a good thing for your speaking.
Important to me because she has supported and encouraged me in a critical situation.
So she has supported and encouraged. Supported and encouraged me. So you didn't quite pronounce the ED sound at the end of encouraged.
For instance, when I was failed in
you want to say when I was failed. You don't have was plus failed. So the key here is you're using active, not passive voice, right? I think you're mixing up the grammars there. So I think the simple past is going to work better. When I failed the TOEFL test, blah, blah, blah. So be careful about your grammar also. That also influences your speaking a lot. You have to make sure you can control the grammar that you're using.
For twice, I was very
I would just say when I failed the TOEFL test 2 times.
Disappointed and lost my hope in getting passed. But she had.
I lost my hope in passing this examination. I lost my hope for passing this exam. So I would probably there use a preposition and then use a gerund phrase after that.
Constantly encouraged and stimulated me to write the TOEFL again and to practice well.
No, you don't say to write the TOEFL again. Usually we take a test. Now I know that you may do some writing during the exam, but that's not the right word there. So you take a TOEFL test. You don't write a TOEFL test. You could say complete a TOEFL exam. You can say take a TOEFL exam, but probably not write a TOEFL exam. That would not be the right word in that situation. So be careful of your word choice.
Before taking the exam. And that motivated me to prepare for the exam and to meet it. That's why she is important to me.
I would say instead of that's why, which is why she is important to me. If you say which is why, you're now combining that final sentence there, or that dependent clause, with the previous idea there. So I get the sense that you're a little bit limited with your grammar, right? And you're having some problems with your word choice as you are speaking English. Remember that all of these are factors which will determine whether or not you can score 26 points or higher in the speaking. So you can't do that if you have inappropriate word choice, if you have some problems with using mostly basic grammar, you're not combining your sentences enough, that's going to cause you some trouble. So be careful. And these are things that I'm listening for as I listen to your responses to these questions. All right, let's go to the next one. So you're answering now question number 2.
5 years from now, I see myself as a physical therapist in the United States.
Okay, that's a good job, by the way. So the second question is, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? What will you be doing? You could be working with me. I have a personal trainer right now who helps me lift weights and exercise and all of that. And she's also getting ready to get into graduate school for physical therapy. So that's a great job. You really do a good service to people. Okay, let's go ahead.
5 years from now, I see myself as a physical therapist in the United States.
Okay.
And I'll be doing my practice here, and I'll be treating the patients who are to be rehabilitated in their life.
I would say who are being rehabilitated, perhaps because of a stroke or a car accident or some illness, you might say there.
I wanted to do it because here there is an advancement in technology, and I can do my practice well and gain more knowledge in treating patients.
Okay.
For example, when treating the post-operative elbow injury, here they use a lot of supportive.
Now, wait a minute. There's something not quite right with that grammar there. Let me go back.
Elbow injury. Here they use a lot of supportive devices in regaining the lost movement in elbow. So
the lost movement in the elbow to help increase the range of motion, right? The range of motion in the arm or something.
I feel very proud to be working here.
Okay.
In 5 years.
You might say, therefore, I will be very proud when I get the opportunity to work here in 5 years. That's how I would say that. Maybe use a transition word like therefore. You're using future tense to explain the idea, and that would more fully express what you're trying to say. Okay, so let's keep going. What do we got? We got one more. So you're answering Part B, question number 3. Okay, I'm getting ready to listen to that right now.
My favorite season of the year is summer season.
Okay, so you're answering the question, what is your favorite season of the year? Fall, winter, spring, or summer? So the main thing here is, as you answer these questions, it gives me some idea about your range, your fluency, your word choice, your grammar, your pronunciation. I have to look at all of these factors as I evaluate your TOEFL speaking and your TOEFL pronunciation. And then I will give you some feedback in just a minute on that.
My favorite season of the year is summer season, when the day is longer and I can do a lot of physical activities during the summer season.
Okay, which you might say when the days are longer and I can do more physical activity.
The day is long and it helps me to do a lot.
You might want to say during the summer the days are longer, which helps me to blah blah blah. That would probably be a better way to say that sentence.
Of outdoor activities and do outdoor games like soccer, which is my favorite game.
Good. So you like soccer. All right. So now here's the next thing. What is your intelligibility right now and why? So, I want to put you in the 5 area, but I can't do it. It says pronunciation, or it says student exhibits a mastery of grammatical structures, but you still have occasional errors with those grammar structures, which puts you more in the 4 area. You continue to have a non-native speaker accent. You don't have to be native speaker like, but sometimes your pronunciation makes it difficult to understand what you're saying, right? So your score here, I'm going to put you at about 4.7 out of 7 based on the 3 paragraphs that you read and based on your response to those 3 questions. So 4.7 out of 7 is where you are right now. So what does that mean? It means that your pronunciation and your speaking fluency in some of these word choice issues, these grammatical problems and these pronunciation problems, it's going to make it hard for you to get 26. You must eliminate these problems. Now, of course, that's not easy to do. You got to practice, right? So as you're already getting a lot of exposure to the language, which is what you want to do. So keep doing that. keep getting more and more exposure. Watch TV, listen to the radio. Most importantly, talk to native speakers as much as you can. All these things are very, very helpful for you. Okay, so in pronunciation, what are some things that you can still work on to continue to improve your pronunciation? So I'm looking at this. I'm going to say speak clearly lesson number 10, the bet, bait. The A, that A vowel sound, you can still work on. I think speak clearly lesson number 12, the Luke, crumbs, and could, that U vowel sound, which has 3 different pronunciations, you can work on that. I think that will be good for you. Also, speak clearly lesson number 19, the P and the B consonant sounds. You still need to work on those. Lesson 23, the T and the D consonant sounds. I think you need some practice there. I think also here, intonation, that's speak clearly lesson number 36 through 40. You need to work on varying your tone a little bit more. And with thought groups and blending, focus on the blending area. You still have not mastered that. So that's speak clearly lesson number 41 through 44. Now, in terms of grammar, what can you do here? Maybe, if you want, take a look at lesson number 6, grammar lesson 6, sentences with adjective clauses. I think that would be a good one for you. Lesson number 13, word choice. I noticed some inappropriate word choice. So study grammar lesson number 13. You can work on that a little bit. Maybe lesson number 17 with verb tenses. And particularly when you need to use a future verb tense, that's something you can look at. Lesson 19, understanding passive versus active voice. You had some trouble with that, so make sure you understand that. I think here, lesson 26.2, sentence variety practice exercises. I think you can also work on mastering that. I think that's important for you too. And I think that's it. So those are my comments based on your post-test. Don't get frustrated. It's difficult. It is very tough to reach native speaker abilities of English. It does take a lot of practice. But remember, my job is, if I could go over to where you live and we could sit down for 2 or 3 hours a day, I could give you one-on-one direct instruction, but I can't do that. I'm teaching here at Cal State University, San Bernardino. I'm teaching many, many hours each week, so I'm very limited in what I can do. So you got to make up the difference so you know what your problems are, right? Now you got to solve them. You have to work on these issues. This is going to be important for you. So you want to put a very heavy emphasis on trying to improve your intelligibility of American English. And guess what? As you become a physical therapist a few years down the line, it'll be much easier for you to communicate with your patients. And remember that many of your patients, they will be elderly, in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s maybe even 100, who knows? But because they're so old, they will not be able to hear very well, and you need to really, really speak clearly to them, or they will not be able to understand what you're saying. So because of your choice of careers, you really need to really work now on trying to improve your speaking as much as you can. All right, and thank you for completing this pronunciation post-test from my website, the 7-step system to pass a TOEFL IBT.